Medieval Islamic history of Jewish groups. Al-Shahrastānī, Ibn Ḥazm, Ibn Taymīyah, Ibn al-Qaīym. Medieval times still hold secrets and treasures today. Objectives: to present a definition of the Jews from Greek, Hebrew, and Arabic philology. To compare Jewish religious groups in medieval Islamic literature. Problems: most current research in medieval history, theology, or philosophy focuses on Christian Western culture. The need for proper methodologies for the study of the Byzantine, Jewish, and Muslim Middle Ages. Hypothesis: medieval history studies must be conducted in accordance with the pluralism proper to this period, whether linguistic, theological, or philosophical, of Greek, Latin, and Byzantine cultures, as opposed to Syriac, Arabic, and Hebrew cultures through the medieval Mediterranean. Definition of the Jews. Jew in Hebrew language. The Hebrew term for Jew is Yehudi. The plural term is Yehudim and refers to the Jewish people as an ethnic and religious group with origins in the Israelites and Hebrews, residents of the historical Israel and Judea. This shows the confluence of ethnicity, religion, and nationality, opening the possibility of ideological, political, theological, and even racist uses. For example, in the book of Jeremiah, the terms Hebrew and Jew are mentioned in the same verse. Ha'ibri be'ha'ibrea be'yehudi. Jew, Judaios in Greek language. The Greek plural noun, the Jews, hoi Judaioi, can refer to a race or religion. In the New Testament, it means the Jewish people, the inhabitants of Jerusalem and its environs, the authorities of Jerusalem, or the people hostile to Jesus, as opposed to the non-Jews, meaning the Greeks, Hellen, the nations, or the Gentiles, ta ethna. For example, in the Acts of the Apostles, Paul is said to have been a Jew, Paulos Judaios. Definition of Jews, Yahud, in the Arabic language. The Arabic etymological root Hawada refers to the actions of repenting and returning to the truth. Just as in the Quranic verse, the Jews are mentioned along with the Christians. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وقالت اليهود ليست النصارى على شيء وقالت النصارى ليست اليهود على شيء وهم يتلون الكتاب. Medieval Muslim authors. Ibn Ḥazm is a polymath of Persian origin who belonged to a Muladi family converted to Islam and who embraced the Arab culture of Al-Andalus. By the critical history of religious sects, Al-Fasl fil Milal wal Nihal, he is considered the forerunner of comparative religion. Even as he presents Islam as the superior and true religion, the methodology of his work includes the union of the methodology of polemics with reference, explanation, debate, and comparison, the use of biblical quotations for the exposition of Judaism and Christianity, and the use of two types of arguments, transmitted and rational, for the refutation, an extensive and clear writing in describing and debating religions. The Persian Al-Shahrastānī was a theologian, philosopher, and pioneer of the science of religions from the 12th or 6th century. The first written history of religion was the Book of Creeds and Sects, Kitab al-Milal wal Nihal, which treats the religions, sects, and philosophies of his time from an objective, philosophical, systematic, and non-polemical approach. The medieval Jewish groups. The first to describe the Jewish groups is the Andalusian Ibn Ḥazm. In his work, he presents a chapter in which he lumps together four religions related to each other: the Jews, the Christians who rejected the Trinity, the school of the Sabaeans, and the Zoroastrians, Majus. Among the Jews, there are different Jewish sects, according to each medieval Muslim author, as follows. For Ibn Ḥazm, we have the Samaritans, the Sadducees, the Ananites, the Rabbinicals, and the Jesuanists. And we will see the other ones in Al-Shahrastānī and Ibn al-Qaīym. The Samaritans, as Samaria, according to Ibn Ḥazm, for the Samaritans the sacred place is Mount Gerizim. In Arabic, Jabal Gerizim, in Hebrew, Har Gerizim, and in Samaritan, Ar-Garazim, in Nablus, Palestine. Their Torah, in the Samaritan language, has thousands of textual differences with the Torah in the Hebrew language, and they reject any prophecy subsequent to Moses and Joshua. Ibn Ḥazm presents these sects geographically, religiously, and historically, emphasizing the theological and textual differences with the other Jews. Samaritans, in Arabic Samariyun, in Hebrew Shomronim, and in Samaritan language Shomronim, are an ethnic group originating in the Levant, and at the same time an Abrahamic and monotheistic religious group. Then the Persian Al-Shahrastānī discussed the division of the Samaritan sect into the Dustanites, Ad-Dustaniya, and the Kustanites, Al-Qustaniya, with difference in their rules and norms. Likewise, he mentioned the central differences with the other Jewish groups. The Samaritan language, close to the Hebrew language Al-Ibraniya, and translated into Syriac Assyriani, and the direction of their prayers toward Mount Gerizim. The Sadducees, as-Saduqiyya. Ibn Ḥazm is the only one who speaks of the Sadducees and presents only 3 facts, sufficient to show their importance in Islamic history and theology. First, they refer to priest Sadduq, Hebrew Sadok HaKohen, Arabic Kahin Sadduq, descendant of Harun. Second, they believe that Uzair is the son of God, Ibn Allah. Third, they were in the territories of Yemen. In fact, Uzair is mentioned in the Quran. وَقَالَتِ الْيَهُودُ Uzair ibn Allah. And the Jew says Uzair is the son of God. وَقَالَتِ النَّصَارَى Al-Masih ibn Allah. And the Christians said the Messiah is the son of God. And such beliefs are contrary to radically monotheistic Islamic theology. Ibn Ḥazm relates the Sadducees in the Middle Ages to the Jews of Yemen, al-Yahud al-Yamaniyun in Arabic, or Yahudim Taymanin in Hebrew, who for more than 2,000 years lived there until the creation of the State of Israel, and with the secret operation Magic Carpet or Eagle's Wings in Hebrew Kanfei Nesharim, that brought almost 50,000 Jews from Yemen, Eritrea, and Saudi Arabia on almost 400 British and American flights to Israel. The Ananites, Al-Ananiyya. According to Ibn Ḥazm, the Ananites are the followers of Anan, who do not abide by the rules of the Torah, nor by the books of the prophets. This sect disavows the sayings of the rabbis, and are found in Iraq, Egypt, the Mediterranean Levant, Asham, as well as in Toledo, Tulaitula, and Talavera de la Reina, Talabaira, in medieval Spain. Thus, it is presented again historical details from legislation, theology, and geography about this sect, sufficient to understand the historical importance and trace its expansion in the medieval Muslim lands. While Al-Shahrastānī, in addition to mentioning their difference with the other Jews on the rules of the Sabbath, holidays, and food, adds that just like the Jesuitical Jews, the Ananites believe in the species and proof of Jesus, considering him a son of Israel, who worships God according to the Torah and who answered the call of Moses. But they do not believe in his prophecy or his message, nor do they believe that the Gospel is a book revealed from God, but is a historical compilation of the disciples about his life. The appellation Al-Min in Ibn Ḥazm text for this sect in the plural Al-Mimin means the heretics, according to comparative Semitic philology. In this regard, the Sephardic Jew Moshe ben Maimon, or Maimonides, the greatest Torah scholar in the Middle Ages, in his Mishneh Torah writes about the heretics: a person who does not recognize the validity of the oral law, he is one of the heretics and should be condemned to death by any person, means by anyone, which demonstrates the great importance in medieval Jewish legislation of theological differences between Jewish sects, entailing legal rules and even punishments such as death for anyone who rejects the oral law, as in the case with several of the mentioned sects. The Rabbinics are Rabbaniya. The Rabbinics are the majority of Jews and follow the sayings of the rabbis, but Ibn Ḥazm does not present theological or geographical references for this majority sect until our days, while its appellation Rabbaniya indicates the rabbinic Judaism, in Hebrew Yahadut Rabbanit, which is based on the belief of the written Torah or Pentateuch and the oral Torah or the explanation of the written one, transmitted from mouth to mouth, thus contrasting with the Samaritan, Sadducean, and Karaite groups. The Jiswanists, Al-Yasawiya. The Jiswanists are the followers of Abu Ishaq, Abu Isa, Ishaq ben Yaqub al-Isfahani, who belonged to the time of the Caliph Abbasi al-Mansur. The Jiswanists affirm, on the one hand, the prophecy of Jesus, the son of Mary, Ibn Maryam, who was sent to the children of Israel, Banu Israel, with the gospel, agreeing with Islamic theology. On the other hand, they believe in the prophecy of Muhammad with the rules of the Quran, addressed to the sons of Ismail, Banu Ismail, and the other Arabs, unlike to Islamic theology, which presents the Quran for all mankind. While Ibn Ḥazm limited himself to theological references to this sect, Al-Shahrastānī include historical references such as that Abu Isa al-Isfahani began his preaching at the end of the time of the last of the Umayyad rulers, named Marwan II, gaining many Jewish followers and fighting al-Mansur with a large army at Arai, where he proclaimed himself as a prophet and messenger of the Messiah. Further, he promulgated that God had spoken to him, just as to Moses, creating a historical, theological, and eschatological connection with Judaism and Christianity. Likewise, Al-Shahrastānī mentioned that this sect has many differences in the Jewish norms of the Torah. For example, the Jiswanists propose the prohibition of sacrifice, while the other Jews perform all the sacrifice, and the increase to 10 daily prayers, while the common Jews pray 3 prayers. The Karaites and the Rabbinics. The Karaites and the Rabbinics. The literature of Ibn Taymīyah and his disciple Ibn al-Qaīym is theological and apologetic rather than historical, the former presenting and criticizing Jewish beliefs as well as practice in comparison with the Islamic religion, while his disciple uses value judgments along with derogatory nicknames and adjectives. Ibn al-Qaīym presents the theological and legal causes of the Karaites' abandonment of the oral law or Talmud, in addition to the legal differences between the two sects, all in relation to the corruption of the Torah, as well as a comparison with Islamic law, which demonstrates a great knowledge not only of theology and law, but of early Islamic textual criticism of the Hebrew and Greek Bible. Conclusions. The studies of Jewish sects and religious groups among the medieval Muslim scholars cited above do not show a progressive development of deepening and broadening the knowledge of the previous literature, even if some are disciples of others, in contrast to the increasing and cumulative progress of the classical Islamic sciences, either because their objectives and methodologies differ or because they only mention such groups to nourish the apologetic discourse rather than to add knowledge about Judaism. The Muslim scholars cited present the knowledge of Jewish groups limited to the geography of Muslim lands, as well as to their theological closeness to Islamic monotheism, and are not presented according to critical or objective aspects. The cited writers also did not differentiate between the medieval Jewish ethnic groups, nor did they know the Hebrew, Aramaic, or Samaritan language, nor they did present the social conflicts with the Jewish communities in Muslim territories such as Al-Andalus or the Islamic East. The exposition of the sects includes geographical, historical, and theological references, which shows their great cultural heritage and the search to present them as broadly as possible, with three epistemological limits: geographical, linguistic, and political. Knowing medieval history from its pluricultural, multilingual, and plurireligious interior allow us to present the coexistence and the multiple differences between the medieval alternative, to propose research paths and bridges of understanding between the current ones. It is not possible to know the other without knowing their language, their culture, and sharing a meal, even if it is virtual or through a medieval manuscript. Thanks a lot for this opportunity.